started him with his campaign, Wanting the Wanting, and he succeeded and worked so hard, and he has this great work ethic. And so did Debbie and his family, and everyone who worked for him. And the culmination of it, if you weren't in the hotel at the Hilton on election night, it was incredible. When Mark walked in, there he was with Debbie, and the press was tagging along behind. And they already had an air of statesmanship that just showed they were such naturals. And eventually, the opponent, we always forget the names of liberals, called in and said he gave up. And Mark and Debbie again took the podium. And as they did, you could clearly see they were ready to take this job. I was at the Republican prayer breakfast this morning in Jackson County, and Kenny West said so clearly, Mark is the right man for the job at the right time. And we are so blessed to have this man and woman who are willing to go to Washington and sacrifice their time and serve us. I am thrilled to introduce my good friend. He is a humble man. He loves the United States of America. Mark really wants to participate and be a soldier in this war, but we're all in as we try to reclaim America. So please, I think that when we see him and thank him for going to Washington, he will be so different than many of the political people we see there. I don't think that Washington, D.C. is going to change Mark Meadows. I think Mark Meadows is going to change Washington, D.C. Congressman for our congressional district, Mr. Mark Meadows.
One of the keys to any speech that you give is never speak longer than the seat can endure. And so I promise you I will be brief with this, and as we share a little bit, I just want to share with you my sincere thank you. As I look out, and I apologize, I've been trying to make it to every table, and I haven't made it. In fact, there's a whole lot that I haven't made it to. But hopefully I'll be able to say thank you in person to everybody, because this is not about me. This is really about reclaiming America and taking back America, because what we have got to do is start having a government that truly represents the people, not only of Western North Carolina, but of this country. And it is good people like you that have sacrificed so much on my behalf. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for working so hard. I'm truly humble and grateful for your help. The other thing I'd like to say, Steve Odom shared, is many of you have worked hard and sacrificed and put out all kinds of signs. You've volunteered, you've knocked on doors, you've just done all kinds of great things. But I want to kind of share the story that Steve Odom is from over in Graham County. And he shared a story this morning that probably is indicative of what has happened because of how hard you've worked on my behalf. He said there was a coon hunter out there, and as they were going around and they were coon hunting, and sure enough, the dogs came to a tree in the middle of the night. They got there and they figured that they had the coon up there, and they shined the lights up there in the tree, and sure enough, there was a Mark Meadows for Congress sign up in the tree. So you never know. They worked hard. We had signs from Graham County to Caldwell County and in between. And it wasn't just the signs, it was the fact that you called your neighbors on our behalf. And I've been around, and for all of you that have said, please go up there and change Congress, I've heard you. I have a few of them that, says, go up there and hit this person, or go up and impeach this person, or, we've seen the executive branch get a little overactive. So I want to just share with you, we have been fortunate enough as a a new member as a freshman, you don't normally get committees that can really do anything, just to be frank. You know, they talked about me being a better congressman than Charles Taylor. Well, the only reason for that is that I drive a whole lot safer than he does. That's the only reason, you know, if we really look at it. And, you know, Governor Roy was talking about how bad that Charles drives. It's worse than that. I promise you it is worse than that. You know, whenever you would go and you'd say, well, Charles, where are we going to go? He says, well, we go just get in the car. And, no, I'll drive, Charles. I promise I'll drive. You ride with me. But as we see this, one of the things that we've got to do is take back our country. And we've got a president, unfortunately, that got reelected. And we did our part here in North Carolina. And I want to just say thank you because it's really did our part. But it is time now that we make sure that we complete the job. Because what we have got to do is we've got to take back the Senate. We've got to make sure that in 4 years that we do not continue on this process. Because quite frankly, everybody is saying that the conservative values that we hold dear are a thing of the past. You know, some even within our party are saying that, you know, we need to change who we are. And what I'm here to tell you is that we shouldn't change who we are. We should espouse those values over and over again, loudly from the mountaintops, and let them know that who we are is what we are, and we're going to stand true to that. And with your help, we will do that. We managed to get on 2 different committees, and one of those committees is Foreign Affairs. As a freshman, getting on Foreign Affairs and being able to deal with things like the Middle East process, the UN, a number of areas that quite frankly need help and need reform. We're honored to be there, and so we're very thankful. We just got back from Israel, and let me just tell you, it's real easy for us to think that here we are in Western North Carolina, and that we live in a safe country, and we do. We live in a safe country because we've had men and women that have served our nation greatly and have fought and died. You know, when you look across the seas, you know, there are thousands and thousands of white crosses on hilltops across the seas. Most of those represent men and women from America that have gone over to liberate and to truly defend freedom. And quite frankly, it is not time for us to give up. You know, we don't honor our veterans and our military the way that we should. And we need to make sure that we continue to do that. So I challenge each one of you. You know, for the veterans that are here, I thank you. I applaud you for your service. You know, it's truly a sacrificial service. But we also need to make sure that we don't abandon those that need our help. And Israel is one of those. And as we came back, you know, one of the things that I've seen is there are rockets that go into places that, you know, into the cities, you know, and we think that somehow by giving up additional property to the Palestinians, we're going to stop that. Well, it didn't happen when we gave up property in the Gaza Strip to them. It didn't happen when we gave up the peninsula to them. Why do we think that if we continue to give up property that somehow is going to grant peace? What we need to do is stand firm and make sure that we stand firm for democracy, because they're the only democracy that we have in the Middle East. And so I would just implore you to truly stand up and make sure that your voice is heard. Because, you know, it doesn't get you many votes. You know, being on Foreign Affairs Committee doesn't really get you a whole lot of votes. Because, it's just headlines on Fox or CNN, preferably Fox. But as we look at this, we need to make sure that we stand up for what is right. The second committee that we got in on was one that actually I requested, and it's the Committee on Government Oversight and Reform. And if we ever needed a government to be reformed, it is our government. Now, the interesting thing about being on that committee, it is the only committee that has investigative powers into the executive branch. So the smile you see on my face is because we have subpoena power. And many of you may have heard of a few things that have come out of that particular committee, like Solyndra, like Fast and Furious. You know, all of a sudden what happens is that committee has the ability to go in and start to look at the things that we're not doing right as a government. And so what I would ask you is, as you start to read headlines, because you know what happens is those headlines will come, and that, you know, freshman Congressman Mark Meadows is going after this particular thing, and that's not good. I need you to stand with me and know that what we're doing is we're doing the best we can to bring back our government and take it back for we the people. And I just thank you so much for the confidence that you've given us by voting for us. Overwhelming. You know, we had votes in counties that I never thought we would even come close. You know, thank you to all of you that have worked your counties so far. And I don't want to ever be one who doesn't show back up in those counties. You know, you sometimes have politicians that they come around and they ask you for your vote, and they come around 2 years later and ask you for your vote. And so one of the things that we're doing is making sure that we're going to have a presence throughout Western North Carolina. To get constituent services back the way that it should have been. Have town hall meetings again. What a novel idea, you know, where you actually get input from the people. But most of all, represent the people of Western North Carolina. Because it's time that we start fighting. And it's time that we not give up. And so I want to share with you just 2 stories. And for those of you that were on the campaign trail, they're not the same 2 stories that I told 166 times. Okay? So it's a new story that I'll only share tonight. But before I get serious with that, we know why the Democratic platform doesn't work, don't you? Many of you know. Because it's just not based on the fact that those values are important. But Ronald Reagan used to share a story about that. And what he did, he talked about the fact that there was a Republican that was going around campaigning and went into a heavily Democratic, you know, county. You know, maybe like Jackson County, where I'm from, or Madison County. You know, there's some of those, and they had not really seen a Republican. And so when the Republican went to the door, he knocked on the door and said, you know, I'm here, I'm running for office, and I'm a Republican. And they said, well, Mom, come here. We've got a Republican that's running for office. And so she came out and she said, well, I've never seen a Republican. Would you mind giving a speech? And so as he looked at it, he was out there and there was this field. There wasn't really anything. So he was looking for a podium and a place to stand up on it. So he went out and he gathered there and kind of got out in the cow pasture and, you know, put up some, you know, well, some of that stuff that they, well, manure. We'll just say they piled up some of the manure and got a little platform there and stood up on the platform. And he just gave this unbelievable, rousing speech. You know, when he got finished, they said, you know, we have never heard a Republican speech before. That was just great. He said, well, ma'am, I've never given a Republican speech from a Democratic platform before. So you just need to understand those platforms. We've got to change those just a little bit. But here's what I want to say, and it is about taking back our country. Because one of the things that we've got to do is fight with all our effort to take back our country. Because our constitutional values are being eroded every day. They're done by executive pen or by UN legislation. And what we've got to do is make sure we live in the greatest country in the world, and we need to protect that. And we've got a Constitution that does that. We've got a Congress that cannot abdicate their position and abdicate it to someone else in the executive branch. So we need to make sure that Congress takes back that power. But the other thing that we need to do is not grow weary of well-doing. Because you know what? As successful as we might have been, there's part of the job that has been left unfinished. And we need to go and not say, well, great, you know, we did great, we got a Republican governor, we got, you know, the 11th Congressional District back, we actually got 3 new congressmen in North Carolina. It was just wonderful, thanks to a state legislative process that was able to make sure that we had fair and legal jurisdictions in terms of lines. But as we see that, we can't grow weary of well-doing. And I want to share this story because what happens is sometimes we forget the sacrifices that were made. And when you look at D-Day and the invasion of D-Day, there was a little point there that was strategic between 2 different beachheads, Omaha and Utah. It was called Point to Hawk. And it was a steep cliff there that actually the enemy had their guns there, and they could see up and down the field. So they had a strategic position that they could defend their beach. And so we had the Rangers, I think it was the 2nd Battalion there that went up. And as they started climbing up, some 235 men started climbing up to take over that particular stronghold. And the word went out that they were supposed to get reinforcements, and so as they got up there, because there was a delay with weather, and they actually took that hill, and they were supposed to only have to keep it for a few hours. Well, in truth, they kept it over 2 days. And it came at great personal cost. Because those 225 men, by the time that there was actually some reinforcements that came along, there were only 87 left to fight. And so when we start to see that, they were there because they were on a mission. And that they knew that failure was not an option. For us, ladies and gentlemen, failure is not an option. Our country is too precious to give up on, and we need to make sure that we don't grow weary. And so even though you may not see the reinforcements coming, I've been all across these 17 counties. I know people personally, and I can honestly say I have friends in every single county here. Many of you are here tonight, and you are the ones that have been the foot soldiers. You've been the ones that have been willing to work hard. And I'm here to tell you that reinforcements are coming, that I am not willing to give up, and that with your help in God's sovereign providence, we will take back our country. Not just for us, not just for our kids, but for our grandkids, for their kids, and for the America that stands for God and country. That's where we need to be. I thank you so much for your vote of confidence. God bless you, and God bless America. Thanks so much for being here.